Mars has already transited into the very fiery sign of Leo. It's causing a lot of impact. We're going to talk about that today and also what that means for you. Hello everybody, I'm Tina Chaudhary. Welcome to my channel and a very warm namaste. So Mars already transited into the sign of Leo on July 20th, and it's going to stay there till September 6th. So it's a pretty long transit. Now, in order to understand the impact of this transit, we have to first understand Mars really well. And so I'm going to talk about Mars first and then tell you what the impact of this transit will be. So talking about Mars, so in any birth chart or in Vedic astrology, Mars is considered to be the army general. So it represents the army general or the army commander. So look at the traits that an army general or army commander has in order to be successful. They have courage, they have bravery, and they're very disciplined. So Mars gives you all these traits. They're also very risk-taking, because in order to go to war, you take risks. You do things that normal other people probably wouldn't do. So Mars gives you the risk-taking ability in your chart. It indicates that in order to be successful as an army commander, or even to be part of any of the forces, you have to have a lot of energy. So Mars signifies how much energy a person's going to have, the physical energy that a person's going to have. A weak Mars in a chart indicates the person's going to have a very low level of energy, and a very high, well-placed Mars in a birth chart indicates a person's going to be very energetic. So one of the things you have to consider is that sports people that do really well have a very, very well-placed Mars, because they have to have a lot of physical energy and stamina. Now, because I said sports people, people that play sports, what does that also indicate? Competitiveness. So Mars is what gives us the fighting spirit. It's an army general. What else do the sports people and army people and people that work in the forces have to deal with a lot? Injury, right? So Mars also indicates blood. So it's a red planet, as we all know now. So Mars is a red planet, and so it indicates blood, our blood. So it also indicates, like I said, injuries and getting hurt, also surgery in our body. So every time somebody goes in for surgery and they're going to get cut, Mars has to play a role in it. You have to have a transiting Mars, or you have to be under the dasha, antardasha, or any small dasha of Mars in order to get a cut on your body and for blood to come out. Even when you go donate blood, there's a Mars influence going on the day that you do it. So because I've said surgery and I've said that getting hurt, so the natural progression that we understand is that Mars also indicates weapons. The army and the forces use weapons, and so weapons, all kinds of sharp instruments that can cause harm, also are indicated by Mars. Also surgical instruments are also Mars, because remember, they can cut your body and you can and bleed as a result of that. Also Mars indicates anger, arrogance, and impatience, because it's a hot planet. Another representation of Mars is real estate, because Mars is considered land, or it's in the Vedic astrology or mythology, is considered the sun of the earth. So the earth is real estate, so Mars represents real estate as well. So it depends on the placement of Mars, and also depends on the dasha transits of Mars. That's when a person will go buy real estate or make a real estate transaction. Sometimes people will ask me, well, how do I know my Mars is well placed or it's not so well placed? One of the dead giveaways, and this is just a secret I'm telling you, one of the dead giveaways of whether you have a well-placed Mars or you don't have a well-placed Mars is when you have anger and you direct it at the wrong person, or it's misdirected anger or unfair anger. It means that you're either spoiling your Mars or you don't have a well-placed Mars. Meaning, so I'll give you an example. So supposing you go to work and you're very angry with your boss, but you don't take out your anger, or you don't direct your anger at the boss, that person that's actually maybe treated you badly, but then you come home and you take your anger out on a little child who's defenseless and who really can't do anything about it, and you take out your anger on that person. So it's Mars's anger. But when you misdirect your anger, it means you have a badly placed Mars, or sometimes you may have an okay placed Mars, but when you do something like that, you ruin your Mars. And so it results in it gives you a negative consequence when you misdirect your anger. It ruins the placement of your Mars. So try not to do that ever. If somebody's made you angry, either deal with your anger with them in a calm manner, but don't take it out on another person. So let's talk about when Mars goes into the house of Leo, or the sign of Leo. So Leo is ruled by the sun, and in the birth chart, the sun is considered the king. So, and as I mentioned, Mars is considered the army general or the army commander, right? So now this would be the equivalent of the army general, the army commander, going to the house of the king. And so this is a good transit because when army general and the king are always supposed to be friends, they get along. So one of the other things is Mars is a fire sign, and Leo, the house of sun, the sun is fire, right? So it's a house of fire, so it's a fire sign. So they both are the same fire sign, so it's obviously a friendly place for Mars to be in. So the sun sun is our ego, it's our arrogance. Here's the army general willing to do whatever it takes to please the king. So now all of us will now have a lot of energy and want to do things. We're full of energy. When Mars was in Cancer right before this, we had no energy. We were debilitated. We didn't want to do anything. Starting July 20th, you'll probably notice that we all got a burst of energy and the drive to want to do something, the drive to want to please somebody. And also the sun is the king, so the king likes to have fun too. Remember, he doesn't like to do anything, but he sure likes to have fun. So we all of a sudden, all of us got the drive to want to have fun, spend our energy, spend our money, and want to have fun. I'm going to stay there till September 6th. So all of us, I think the whole world is going to see this burst of energy. It's a good energy. So Mars, because Mars is happy, it's a happy energy. So Mars is happy, it wants to do things, and it's got a burst of energy, and people are going to be wanting to do things. The downside is that Mars, because when Mars gets happy, it also gets very arrogant because it's influenced by the sun. So Mars is also going to get a little arrogant and egoistic right now. So all of us, when we're out doing things and we want to do all these things, our ego is also going to get very high. And if Mars is impacting our speech in some of the ascendants, it's going to impact our speech. It's also going to give us very fiery, egoistic, arrogant speech. So we're going to tell people off because we're so full of ourselves. We have so much energy. We have so much ego. We're going to be telling others off. And also, when somebody tells us what to do, we don't like it, and we're going to fight for our ego. So all of us need to guard against that a little bit. Watch your ego. I know you guys have a lot of energy, but the best way to use this energy is to do a workout, start a workout regimen, start a physical exercise regimen. It's a great time for that. One of the things I also caution you is because the fire element is being exaggerated a lot, where working in the kitchen, make sure you're very careful working in the kitchen. You have fire, and so it sometimes gets a little out of control when the fire element is enhanced by Mars and Sun together, or Leo together. So working in the kitchen, be very careful when you're working with fire. Also be very careful working in the kitchen with knives. Before I move on with predictions, let me mention that my predictions are based on your ascendant or your rising sign. They're not based on your sun sign or your moon sign. If you don't know your ascendant sign or your rising sign, you can drop me a note with your date of birth, place of birth, and time of birth, and I'll let you know what your ascendant sign is. There's lots of people that are doing that, but they're very shy. They don't want to put it in comments, so they send me an email. The email is on the screen, so you can send me an email with your information, and I'll respond back and tell you your ascendant sign. So I can honestly tell you right now, I'm getting lots and lots of emails with people asking me about their ascendant sign. So you can be one of them, and then I'll let you know. It's always free. I never charge for something so simple. Also, If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please, please, please do subscribe to my channel. I'm getting so many views. Thank you guys. You've been a great audience, but I also do need some subscribers. So if you haven't subscribed, subscribe to my channel. And if you like my video, please do share it with friends and family and give me a like. And I also love comments, and I will always respond to your comment. If you send me your ascendant in your comment, I will always say something about it. So make sure you do comments also. And now I'm going to move on to prediction. The first sign is Aries. Aries, Mars is your own ascendant lord, and now it's moving into your 5th house. But Mars also is your 8th house lord. So the 5th house represents your children, physical activities, counseling, also creativity and performance. So physical performance also. And so it's going to do really well in that area where you're going to have a lot of energy to do creative things. It's also a great time to do physical activities, start a new exercise regimen, or even start new creative projects. This is also a good time for your career because it looks at the 10th house, but it's also a great time for career and recognition. You may be recognized for something that you've done in your career. You may be recognized, but the 8th house lord means that you're going to also have to work very hard in order to get that recognition. So make sure you work really, really hard in order to get that recognition that you may be craving or looking for some time. Your energy level is going to be just so high that you actually may be willing to put in all that extra effort into your career or whatever it is that you do. You're going to be very good at your speech, where if you're performing in front of somebody or if you're presenting something, make sure you put in the hard work, because once you do that, your efforts will be really very well recognized. The 8th house lord also signifies sudden events. The sudden events could be related to either finance or something to do with your in-laws. So kind of watch for that. Also watch your speech a lot. As I've said before at the beginning of my video, it's going to give you some fiery speech and also a lot of anger and arrogance at this time, especially with children. Watch your communication with children. Don't get angry with them. Make sure you stay very patient with them, and don't show your anger at them, and treat them with love. And I do see that maybe your sleep may be disturbed during this time, maybe because of hyperactivity or maybe because you're working too hard. So you may have a disturbed sleep pattern at this time. Taurus, this transit is in your 4th house, but Mars rules your 7th house and your 12th house. So you'll find that it's a very good time for business growth, marital happiness, or not marital, I'm sorry, domestic happiness. And also you'll be very confident and ambitious, but you'll also be very hardworking. So Mars is going to give you the energy to work really, really hard at work, and you'll work so hard at work with your career that you'll also forget people at home, and you'll tend to ignore people at home. So that's going to be the downside. So make sure you don't ignore the people at home and have a very good work-life balance. Also, the other problem I see with Taurus is because Taurians normally have a very bad tendency to continuously argue with people. They argue a lot because it's the Taurus is the zodiac sign that rules the mouth or talking. So they argue a lot, and they argue a lot of times. I've seen them argue needlessly. So but this time, if they argue, they're going to get in trouble a lot, because Mars is going to give them the energy to not argue but get into fights, and it may the arguments that they think they're having, intelligent arguments, may actually result in seriously bad consequences, especially at work. So try not to do that. Try to control your impulse to argue needlessly, or even when you think that you need to, it may be needless. So you need to control that. Also control getting into these arguments and discussions with your mother, because it's in your 4th house and you're going to have all this energy and you're going to direct it towards your mother. So control the impulse to argue or discuss things and get into it with your mother. Make sure you tell her you love her instead of arguing with her. The 4th house also signifies purchase of large ticket items. It could be home related items, real estate items, or even the cars and autos, vehicles. Large ticket items are represented by the 4th house. So it does represent, it's a very expensive time for you because the 12th house is getting activated. I'm also telling you that there will be very strong competition at work at this time. So you may be competing against people that you may or may not know about. So make sure you work really hard and stay abreast with the competition and try to beat it out. You're going to have good energy, but like I said, your communication is going to either ruin you or make you or break you. So make sure you watch your communication at all times, especially at work. Make sure you work hard. You also I see you meeting a lot of new people at this time. So make sure you stay good in their communication with these new people. At the same time, don't burn off your relationships with the people that you already know, and this will be a very good time. Gemini, this transit is happening in your 3rd house, and Mars rules your 11th house and your 6th house. Now the 3rd house denotes dedication, self-effort, and hard work. It also denotes your siblings, it also denotes neighbors, and it also denotes the social media and communication of all kinds. It could be written, it could be verbal communication. Now, can't you just imagine when Mars has gone into your house of communication, what it could do to you? Well, you're going to be full of confidence, you're going to be bursting with confidence, and you're going to be bursting with ego in your communication. You need to watch that. I'm saying this to so many ascendants, but I don't know who's going to even be able to control this energy. So for Gemini, it's very, very critical that you manage your communication, because it's ruling your 11th house, which is the 11th house of gains, which you can gain through your communication. So if you work in anything to do with communication, it could be social media, it could be through writing. If you're a commission-based person that, you do sales based on commissions, this is a great, great, great transit for you. And the 6th house also represents diseases and enemies, but you're going to have very good energy to be able to beat the competition or win through competition. So it's a good transit for you. Make sure you watch that competition. You guys are going to have so much ego and arrogance and so full of yourselves right now, because you're going to be doing so well that you're going to turn off people with your communication. You're going to be telling off people, and especially father. So because it's looking at the 9th house, so make sure you don't get into it with your father, especially. Your health is going to be much better. In the past, you probably had some health issues where you were not feeling so energetic. This is a good time for your health as well. It's a great time for gains and investments, and you're dying to do some investments. I know this. So make sure you invest very, very wisely. Cancer, this transit is happening in your 2nd house, and Mars rules your 5th house and your 10th house. So the 2nd house rules your speech and the food you eat. So I can honestly tell you that your speech will be a little fiery. You might be wanting to tell off people, especially your children and your marital partner. Control the urge to do that. This transit is actually a very good transit for you, because the 10th house rules your career, and so it's going to make you very ambitious and fight for your career. Now, you may be wanting to fight for your career based on your speech and verbally fighting for your career, but I can also tell you that that's not what's going to get you what you want. The 5th house rules creativity and long-term planning. So if you want to get what you want in your career, you're going to have to think through it, make a long-term plan, and then go after what you want in your career or for your career. That will get you a lot better consequences than fighting for it. People that are working in real estate, food, or education and children, those careers are going to do really well right now. So it's a good time for people that do work in those careers, because it's a good time for careers for the Cancer people. It's a good time. Sudden events can also be predicted regarding your own health and your spouse's health. So make sure you take good care of yourself. Remember, I said the 2nd house represented food. So I think you might be feeling like wanting to eat spicy food or hot food a lot during this time. So make sure you're very careful what you eat, because your health can be impacted by what you're eating right now. Otherwise, it's a really good transit for you as far as career is concerned, and as far as your children are concerned. Think through things before you do them if you're thinking about moving forward in your career. Leo, this transit is happening in your own ascendant lord, in your 1st house. So it signifies the body, which means that it's going to give you great energy, great aura, and you're going to feel very good. So if you're in a profession that uses physical energy, if you're a sports person, you do sports, or you're a model, you're a dancer, or you know, you use your body for something in your career, in your profession, like you teach sports, or you teach yoga, or you just do yoga, I think it's a great time. It's a great time for you to either work on it or do well in it. It's a good time because you'll have all this physical energy and you're going to do a really good job of that career. If you're trying to start a career in that, I think it's a really good time too, because the ninth house is being activated. The ninth house is your house of luck. And how do you start it? If so, how do you activate your ninth house of luck? So the best way to activate that is through mantra practice or through your guru. So you can do some spiritual practice. You can ask the guru for guidance. You can actually do some mantra practice and ask for the luck factor to open up, and then you can get even better lucks to start a career in all those kind of things that relate to what I just mentioned. Now, the only thing I caution the Leos against is that generally Leos have a tendency to brag about and show off a lot of things. They brag about their things a lot. They talk about their own things a lot, and tend to do that a lot. And now Mars in the first house is going to make them brag even more. So that's going to bring out the tendency even a little bit more. You have to caution about that, because right now, if you do that to an extreme where it's going to turn off somebody, you're going to burn that relationship for good for a while. So I caution against that, because, and especially this is going to be especially true at a place of work or with your in-laws. And of course, since Mars is in your first house, I'm cautioning you against being too hot-headed, too fiery, too egoistic, and then too much anger against people. So make sure you watch for that. Virgo, this transit is happening in your 12th house, and it rules your 3rd and 8th house. So the 12th house signifies expenses. It also represents travels, and it also represents a solitude of some sort. The 3rd house represents self-effort. So right now, you will realize that you're going to put in a lot of self-effort, but you're going to have a lot of confidence associated with your self-effort. You're going to work hard, but you're also going to have a lot of energy to work hard. So it's not like you need to work hard and you don't feel like it, which was in the past. A few months ago, you needed to work hard, but you didn't have the energy to. But right now, you're going to realize that you need to put in the self-effort, and that you need to work hard and be dedicated to the cause of whatever you're dedicated to. But you're going to have all this energy that you're able to meet that. You'll realize that when you put in all this hard work with all this energy, that you all of a sudden start moving ahead, because Mars will give you that energy to move ahead. One of the things I caution you against is to make sure that you don't have any enemies or hidden enemies or people that are envious of you, because sometimes the 8th house can do that. It can make people very envious of you. Also, the 8th house can give you sudden events related to your own health and to the health of your spouse. So make sure you take very good care of your own health. One of the things that I recommend that you can do is make sure you follow a very good workout regimen. Mars will give you the energy right now to do workouts, physical workout, to keep your body healthy, and also make sure that you eat, you're eating healthy, because the 8th house does signify some sickness. So make sure you're eating very healthy, and making sure that you're working out really well and keeping a good health regimen may minimize the impact of not feeling well, or sometimes getting sick. I'm saying this to every ascendant, most of the ascendants, because most of us will feel this way, is to watch and control your anger and your ego. So as long as you control that, which I don't think Virgo is going to have too much of a problem with that, but just make sure you watch your communication with all the people. Work very hard, because you're going to see very good results off this transit in as far as getting results and getting rewards, but you're going to have to work hard. Libra, this transit is happening in your 11th house, and Mars rules your 2nd house and your 7th house. So the 11th house is a great house. It rules gains and from investments and other activities. It also rules your network of all the people you know. It could be friends, it could be, associates, it could be, just basically your whole network system, all your social circle. So, but it also represents gains. One of the things you have to do is understand that right now, when Mars is in there, you probably will have all this energy to go out and socialize with everybody and anybody, because it represents your friends and social circle. So you're going to be out there and just having a wonderful time with your friends and socializing and having a great time. You spend all your energy over there. But your gains, one of the things you have to watch for is your gains from your career as well. So you're going to have to make sure that you spend a lot of energy at your career and not just all with your friends and having a grand old time. You do spend all your effort at your career, at the workplace, making sure that you're in contact with all the right people at work. Make sure you dress well, make sure you speak well, make sure you're at work and you're making your presence known and you're in touch with all the right people. You will have gains. You will benefit in your career right at this time. Also, you may see some gains from your family members. Also, your family members may actually do really well. It could be your spouse, because the 7th house is being activated. So you may actually see some good gains from your spouse as well. She or he may get a good job. They may get some good benefits as well, or some other sort of gains. Well, I'm saying this to all my ascendants. Make sure you watch your communication with your family, because Mars is definitely going to give all of us very fiery speech, all of us in a certain anger and arrogance. Now, your anger and arrogance is going to be directed at your family, your spouse, and your friends, because it's in the house, in the 11th house. So again, it's a great transit. It depends on how you want to utilize this energy. You can waste the transit, or you can get really good gains from this transit. Scorpio, this transit is happening in your 10th house, and Mars rules your ascendant lord, which is your 1st house, and also your 6th house. Anytime Mars transits the 10th house, it means great things for your career, because it gives you energy. It gives you a boost of energy in your 10th house. So it's going to be great for your career. But because it rules your 1st house, it's going to give you this arrogance and ego at work that's going to make you some enemies at work. Because don't forget, your 6th house, it also rules your 6th house. So anytime a Scorpio people have this arrogance and a feeling of anger and impatience at work, they create enemies. Otherwise, it's a very good time for your career. You actually may get recognition, you may get rewards, and you may actually get a better position, or you may get some definite benefits, some good things coming to you for your career, as long as you control your temper and don't create those hidden enemies. This is not a good time for your parents' health, so make sure you tell both your parents that you love them and you take good care of them. This is also a very hardworking time for you, so you may neglect your family and your home, and so you need to make sure you maintain the work-life balance. So I see some purchases. I see some high ticket purchases. It could be relocation related, it could be a car, it could be a house, it could be expensive home related items, but I do some real expensive purchases for you. Sagittarius, this transit is happening in your 9th house, and Mars rules your 5th house and your 12th house. So the 9th house is the house of luck. So your karmic luck is going to get activated by a fiery Mars. This is a great thing. Now, what it also asks you to do is, because it's your 5th house, so the 5th house relates to children, education, creativity, and in general, having fun. So you may be having a lot of fun with your kids. You may have the energy to go do things with them. I also see a lot of travel, or at least some travel. It could be long distance or it could be short distance, but I definitely see some travel going on for you. It could be with the children, or it could be education related travel. It could be something that you have to go for work to learn something, or to do a course or learning exercise or something. Education related travel, I think that might happen. The 5th house relates to long-term planning and education and children, like I said. So it's a very good time for you to plan what to do for your long term, and make plans for long term, and think about how you want to proceed in your career or otherwise in your life. It's a good time for that. The 12th house is expenses, so you may be buying some expensive stuff, and it could be, the expenses could be related to travel, and it could be related to children, but you're going to be spending quite a bit of money, so you need to control that if you don't want to do that. Sagittarians that are involved in work that relate to foreign companies or foreign businesses, it's a very good time for that as well. So you'll see good gains from businesses that deal with foreign countries, because the 12th house signifies things foreign. So that's a good time for that. And also, I'm saying this to all my ascendants, watch your communication, especially for you guys. If you anger or arrogance or ego, things could end up pretty badly if it's not managed well. Capricorn, The transit is happening in your 8th house, and Mars rules your 4th house and also your 11th house. So the 8th house denotes sudden changes or things that you didn't think of will happen, and Mars is also represents sudden, fast things that happen. So you have to make sure that if you're making any changes to your finance or anything to do with real estate, you're very, very careful. You're cautious. You check all your paperwork, make sure there's nothing hidden from you. The 8th house also represents information that's hidden. So you make sure you do that. The sudden changes could also impact or could have to do with a parent, with your mother, or it could also have to do with an older sibling or something in your network circle of people that you know, your friends. So I'm definitely don't mean to scare you. I'm just saying something sudden that happens. They could travel or they could do something. So it also signifies that. 8th house is also very good for mantra and practice and spiritual practice. So it's a really good time if you're thinking about going to a religious place or starting a new religious practice or starting something new at a spiritual level, or learning astrology or something, something like that. It's a really good time for that. 11th house is benefits. So if you ask God and if you pray to him or whoever that you pray for, whoever you believe in, and you say, okay, I'm going to do this, but if you would give me that, it's a good time for that. Again, I'm telling all my ascendants, watch your communication. Capricornians generally don't have anger, too much of them, but at this time everybody's going to be have anger and have a little bit of an ego. So I'm telling you, make sure you're stay very, very, very cautious with how you communicate with others, especially older siblings and your mother, and also your friends. Don't get angry with them. Don't you get egoistic with them, and don't lose your patience with them. Aquarius, this transit is happening in your 7th house, and Mars rules your 3rd house and your 10th house. So it's an okay transit. This transit is really very good for business and for career also. It's a good time. So if you work in the field of where in your career where you deal with a lot with the public, it's a good time for that. If you have a business, it's a great time for business growth. It's also a very good time for career. You're going to have a lot of energy, and you're going to have a lot of drive to want to do things or want to do things differently or new. So you're definitely going to have a lot of energy to put into your career, and then you might see a good growth of it. Now, one of the strange things that the Aquarians will see, that because the transit is happening in your 7th house, it's a very good time for the spouse to have good luck as well, because it's 9th. The 7th house and the 3rd house are 9th from each other. So it's very good for the career of the spouse for the Aquarius people. So they get a very good burst of energy and very good luck in the spouse. The spouses of the Aquarius people also have a good luck going in their career. So their luck factor opens up as well. Now, one of the things that the Aquarius people are definitely going to feel the impact is ego and arrogance and a hot-headedness, because it's looking straight at the ascendant house. So they're going to be full of ego, and they're also going to have a lot of anger and impatience. So they need to guard against that, especially against their spouses or their business partners. So they need to watch their communication really, really well, and they're not going to like to be told what to do either. So this is full-blown Mars effect is going to happen to the Aquarius people. They're going to be short-tempered, they're going to be arrogant, and they're going to have a lot of anger right now. So I'm cautioning all the Aquarius people, please make sure that you don't shout at people, get mad at people, and get angry at people, especially your spouse, because this is not going to end up the way you want it to end up. Pisces, so this transit is happening in your 6th house, and Mars rules your 2nd house and your 9th house. So it's a very good time for energy. You'll feel very energetic, but there's a couple of things you need to watch for. 2nd house rules the food you eat and your communication. So your communication is definitely going to get a little harsh, and it's going to get a little angry also. And you're also going to want to tell people to mind their own business regarding your investments, your finance, and what you're eating and what you're doing with your money. Also, the food you eat, you're going to want to eat very spicy, very hot food, because that's what the taste of Mars. Mars is hot and fiery. So you're going to want to eat all this hot, spicy food, or you're going to have the taste for it. And then you're going to get sick, because the 6th house does denote illnesses in the stomach. So you're going to have a hard time digesting all this spicy food that you have a taste for. So you need to watch carefully what you're eating. And also the second house is your wealth, and the sixth house is your debt. So you have to make sure that you don't incur too much debt at this time if you are spending, or if you're taking on loans for something. If you have the money, it's a very good idea to pay off your loans, because the other house that's getting impact is the ninth house. So if you pay off your loans, you actually activate the ninth house as well, which is the house of luck and also long distance travel. So if you are wanting to move long distance or travel long distance, then it's a good idea to not take on too much debt, and you pay off that, and then your good luck factor starts to come into play. The ninth house also signifies your father. So there may be some issues with getting along, or fiery speech with your father, or there may be a health issue with your father, but just tell him you love him and don't start a fight with him. And this brings me to the end of my video today. Thank you for watching. Stay safe.